Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Set the Pipe with another episode. I am Sully. There is CK. Oh, with his light on. And of course, we have Tim Johnson Bears here.
Hello.
Today's a little different. We actually recorded the episode already. So this is being done after the fact, but it was great. Duncan Blackman, a fellow that we played against, he's Stanford. He was a freshman NCAA Player of the Year back in the day, and just the interview just started immediately. So everybody stay tuned. We're going to get right into his interview. Thanks. And then there's Duncan Blackman. Can you hear us?
Hey,
Dunkster.
you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hear
CK,
The
how you
Dunkster
doing,
right
bro?
there. We're good. How are
I
you?
did a really crappy job. I'm in the middle of a move, so that's stressful. But other than that, I'm in really good shape. And the middle of summer, so enjoying time with the kids. And coincidentally, the film industry is very quiet right now, so I get to spend a lot of time with the boys, which is great. I have twins who are 12. It just, under other circumstances, I'd rather be working, of course. But it's great. And you guys, thank you so much for having me. You guys,
Yeah, man.
It's been a while. I mean, CK and I stay in touch every once in a while, but the other, Bear and Sully, I haven't spoken to you guys in quite a bit.
We really haven't even spoken, but we'll get into how we
forever.
actually
Yeah.
ran into each other.
And by the way, it's the middle of the summer. Everybody here thinks it's really cold in Toronto. It's not. It's quite hot during the summer and quite humid. So I have fruit flies everywhere right now. And so if you see me batting away like this, I'm not losing my mind. I'm actually just in the effort to keep flies growing in my mouth. He did send you one photograph just now, CK. Are you able to pull that up? Because it's epic.
Epic. Oh, is this you too?
That is us.
Oh my gosh.
That's hilarious.
That's
That's
great.
also
Okay,
in
that's-
Havana, Cuba, by the way.
That is correct. Bear, what was your question? I'm sorry.
It's about Brett Schroeder, actually. You know
Okay.
Schroeder?
I remember
played at Long Beach.
He was yeah, great. He was an outside hitter, was he not?
Outside hitter / setter, but he had an issue at Stanford his freshman year. I think they introduced him, and he flipped off the crowd. Do you remember any of this? I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
I
or
would
anything.
say that's a particularly bad idea. You'd think that the Stanford folk are a bunch of really classy dudes, but the problem was that. What year was this? I'm
I
curious.
think it's his freshman year because
So
every
that
year
was-
after that.
That would have been the spring of
89.
88, 89.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Your
So
freshman
here's-
year. Your freshman year, Dunky. Your
Yeah.
freshman year.
Here's the tough part about Stanford. And everybody go up there and think we're a bunch of classy, smart dudes. And I think all my teammates and the fans were quite intelligent because it was actually quite hard to get into Stanford. Graduating, less so. But the point is that almost all of the guys on the team were in one fraternity, and almost. And
Okay.
Dave Goss was the big exception. There were a few people that were not in fraternities, but Goss. This is when years later, CK went, and so it plays back to your question, Bear.
Yeah.
Is that and Scott Fortune had just come back from winning the gold medal, not only putting away the ball with Esot and the serve. I literally watched that this afternoon. And so there was like this gargantuan pride for Stanford volleyball. And we went on to have a very good year. We unfortunately lost to Al and Trevor and Matt Sonicson and yada, yada, yada. And there's some funny stories there too. But the point is that like our fraternity brothers were ruthless, and they really were not very during our matches. I would say they were relatively uncouth. You know, they would really go at it. And then it only got worse years later so then Goss went SAE, which is we were rival fraternities, but nobody was like fighting or anything like that. This isn't, but the thing was that then the SAs would pick one side of the gym and the fight outs would pick the other side of the gym. And then just no matter what side you were on, people were just yelling at you. So people were like, it was actually really not fun. And something that I think it was Matt Lau.
Oh, no. I disagree, Duncan. Coley, because you playing with me. I loved playing at Burnham. I loved where they could touch you. And I loved how smart, obviously, before the internet, how focused and understanding of your freshman year in high school, that girl that dumped you, they knew that. How they knew, I don't know, but they knew it. And they
Because we were jerks feeding them
unloaded
information.
unloaded on us. And most people can't handle that. I loved it, actually, but I loved playing in Stanford.
Yeah, but
because
Coley, you're an anomaly. Let's all just agree on a lot of different levels. And I actually appreciated Marv's question of you about your arm swing, because I think I had a very good arm swing. I think I had a next level arm swing, but I had an arm swing that could be taught. Yours is kind of in a weird, like you're not human. We all have our different skills. Anyway,
Yes.
there was a great one. My junior year, no, my sophomore year. I apologize. Parker's, my brother Parker, you guys know, and so I apologize if I just refer to him as Parker from here on out. It was Parker's senior year. It was Dan Hannon's senior year. Craig Forsyth, who's a terribly underrated player, he led the nation in hitting percentage in part because he didn't get to, Anyway, we played against USC, and that's when USC and Long Beach, you guys battled those 2 years, one year, the other year, right?
Yep.
And Ivy, in my estimation, I know he's my roommate for nearly 10 years, and so I'm very loyal, but in my era, which I believe is our era, I think Brian Ivy is the best volleyball player of that entire area, of that region. Hilly had 1 year when he was untouchable. Sorensen had another. It was great my senior year, his junior. I actually think there was a junior every single year. Anyway, where were we?
Who's a better defender? That's a question I've asked both of you guys. Take the blocking, take the hitting aside. Who's a better defender in the back row, Hilly or Ivy?
I never saw Ivy dig a ball. So
that's not true. That's
I mean,
not true.
I was
I'm not asking, because I'm not saying who's better or worse. Because if you're going to say volleyball player, who's the best volleyball player, that has to be part of being a volleyball player is playing defense. So yeah, we can argue who's a better hitter, who's bigger, because Ivy could play middle, so could Hilly, but Ivy was bigger. They both were amazing on the right. Hilly's arm, I'm going to give Hilly a little nod there. But who's better in the back row? So who's a better server? Like those things have to be put into who's the better volleyball player. But I'm with you.
But my freshman year, it was Dan Hannon, in my estimation. And again, I'm loyal because of Stanford, and I was obviously biased. And everybody talks about Bones, and don't get me wrong, when Scott was on, he was untouchable. But Dan Hannon was hands down, in my opinion, the best volleyball player my freshman year. Okay,
he was fun to watch.
89. Yep. Give me that whatever year it is. And then my sophomore year is when Ivy accelerated, and he just came. We were like, because he was injured my freshman year, so he was really a non-factor. And then of course after that he was untouchable. And then my junior year it was Hilly, was just nobody could touch him. And then my senior year I think it was Tom. And I know I'm picking a bunch of hitters, but sorry, I mean
but that's, in our era, that's what it really was. You could swing 90 times in one match, and that mattered more than digging a few balls in the right back. And Hilly and Ivy are both coming out hitting D's no matter what every time. It's just it's a fun argument. People do the LeBron versus MJ, all those things. When you say volleyball player, for the year, for the decade, listen, I am not going to disagree with anyone that would put Brian Ivy as the best volleyball player of our generation. I would have zero argument with it. I'd also probably have zero argument with a few other people that they could put. Not many more. I wouldn't put a lot.
Nygaard, he's up there.
Nygaard is tough to beat, man.
And he really is, right? But he's a little younger, but he's still in that generation. I mean, he played against him in college, even though he was a freshman, sophomore, when Ivy was a senior. So he's in that group. So yeah, there's there's definitely a few to put in that realm of BI, but BI's BI, right?
I got a question for you guys, because I have an answer in my own mind. You were talking about D, and by the way, out of the four people I just mentioned, Dan Hannon was hands down the best defensive player out of all four of those guys. Okay?
I can see that.
Yeah.
Meaning and if you look at the stats, and then the stats are strangely in perpetuum now because it's during the side-out era. And I do have a question for all of you guys separately, okay, which is set the pipe, because for me, the terminology, myself, Bob Hillman, who CK knows really well, but we were always like, can he side out? But can he side out meant more than can he actually, it usually meant can he pass, but it was more like, it was a mentality thing. Because in the side out era, we'd have these battles, we would play for hours, right?
Hours.
And so it was a fatigue thing, and that wasn't just physical fatigue, and something I actually got way better at when I was on the national team, which was mental fatigue, and also my vision. And there's a thing I wanted to mention, which I hope pastors out there could appreciate. But my question to you guys, okay, you're talking about these superlatives, right? Okay, I'm going to say that Eric Sato is the greatest. I think Soji is probably giving him a run for his money at this point, but in U.S. volleyball history, who other than Eric, because Eric's the easy answer, okay? And I've seen Eric do really weird stuff, and I have a crazy funny story. It's not embarrassing, but it's a crazy funny story about Esau. And I don't think, actually, Coley, I don't think you were with us at that time. But I have somebody in mind who I think is the second best defensive player behind Eric Sato of, quote, our era, okay? Who I played with, and to be honest, all of us have played with. That's my opinion, but I don't want to load it. So I want you to think about who.
So Bear and I were treated by Fig, Jason Stinfig. That guy. I mean, everybody's like, because you only saw him as a setter. In practice, nothing fell.
Better than Matty Lou?
Amazing. Oh, yeah.
You take Fig
easy.
over Matty Lou for defense?
Absolutely. Yeah. No question about it. Temple.
He's about the only player that Delhi had to calm down and tell him to stay more in his spot, because he would dig left back and middle back and left back.
Yep.
Playing right back. He was unbelievable.
Yep. Yeah. He was amazing.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. I mean, E. Sullivan played in 3 Olympics, right? So you got to maybe put him in.
I never played with Eric, so I don't. Yeah. Meaning I watched him play, but I just never played with him. An amazing player. No discredit to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm trying to think.
You go for it, CK.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean,
I'm trying to
just
think.
based off stats, right? Like Esot's amazing. Our era. UCLA, Long Beach, Northridge. I'm just thinking.
I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you got, Duncan?
Who do you got, Dunk? Let us know.
Fig.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. So they named it Jason Stinfig. Yeah.
See, I'll give you guys a good one. You know, the first of your podcast that I watched was the Bob Samuelson one, which was amazing. And I really was, I mean, Sammy and my brother Parker are super tight. I know Bob for many years, played against him, played with him. And he's just a really good guy. And you know, his kids all went to my alma mater, go Loyola Cubs. But and this segues into an interesting question next, if you guys will, which are different kinds of hitters. Like where Coley and I are a lot more alike. You know what I mean? Quick feet, quick arms. Sammy was a hammer, right? I mean, that guy could bring the heat like there was no tomorrow. He had a snap too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not discrediting how powerful. And I actually talked to Kent Steffes about this. Okay, don't let me forget. This is about Jason Stinfig. Is that I talked to Kent because Kent and I hit in a similar way, which I think you do too, Coley, which were more kind of not this massive body compression like Karch does. You know what I mean? Like this huge, which is a massive transference of energy. You and I would just go up and go rip, rip, rip. And it was, you couldn't telegraph what you were hitting quite as much. Anyway, the point is, we were playing in the Federal Building, and I don't remember if it was off a serve or if it was a broken play, but they ran an X2, which they don't really do anymore because now they set the pipe.
It's a big.
It's a big.
Right.
Set the pipe. It's a big.
They set a low pipe. How about that?
Yeah. But they set an X2, and whoever, I'm just going to throw Brett Winslow, who I love to death, under the bus, committed on whoever was the middle, Ivy. Yeah. And then Sammy came around and hit an X2, and everybody in the whole gym knew nobody was blocking him, right? And he didn't hit one of his big, like, strong, he cradled the ball. Like, it was a total warm-up hit.
Yeah.
Like, he literally hit the ball straight down. And Jason Stinfig walked right into the danger zone. I'm like, oh, my God, we're going to take this guy to the hospital. And he dug the ball kind of like whatever. And then it was, again, I'm going to throw names out there, but Greeny stepped in, chucked the ball outside of Dwayne Cameron, and they put the ball away, and we were all like, wow, what just happened? I mean, it was the gnarliest dig. But it was also like everybody else would be just running for the hills and covering their head because the beast of Bob Samuelson was coming right down. Anyway, it's one of the greatest digs I've ever seen.
I think Figgy was on the beach when he was in diapers. And he was playing defense out there and digging balls. And when he would play defense at Long Beach, it was like he was playing doubles in the back row. And he could dig half the court, no problem.
Yeah, we talked about that before. In this day and age, who would have been our setter at Long Beach? Because Fig would have been no doubt libero in the story. So like, was Schroeds would have stepped in and said this the whole time? I don't know. It'd been interesting to see.
Dude, I would be a libero now. There's no way I'd be an outside hitter in this day and age. I mean, come on.
Your whip was pretty
we talk
good,
about
Duncan.
it all the time, Dunk. I think the difference is, and I really believe this, and I think not for everybody, but you were elite, right? We all played at a high level. We call ourselves elite. I mean, we were playing high level Division I volleyball. You were on the national team. We played a bunch of U.S. stuff together. I can go on forever. We would train it. We would learn it. Like, you love volleyball. We're going to talk about your early days, but when you were at Loyola and you're playing club as a sophomore and junior in high school, if you were eating, if you were training, if you had private coaches, if you were learning about Normatex for your legs at night, if you were taking, everyone had Epsom salt baths back then, but if you were doing all of that and you had coaches teaching you the fast-paced game, come on, Dunk, you out on the left with that ball coming that fast, who's blocking you?
Especially
Nobody. And you could pass. So with you passing and you hitting that way, I would beg to say the opposite. I think you would be even more excelling on the offensive end in today's game than you would have back then. The game's so fast, and we're talking about you, had an arm swing that could have no problem with that ball coming that fast.
I don't.
So you'd have been with that ball.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So to go back to what you said earlier is I disagree. I think a lot of us, I say us, me, but a lot of us would be able to compete and excel at the game today if we played it growing up like they do, right? Like if we did. Like, I just think, I mean, there's guys my size still, like, they jump better than I do. That would also change because I would have done it. But I went to a bunch of college games this year. There's 6'4", 6'5" medals. I'm watching international matches. There's 6'3", 6'4" outside hitters, which there were when our generation. Then it went to the 6'9" guy, and now it's going back to the 6'4", 6'5" guy. I think you could do it. It's just the game's so fast. It's so big. It's so physical. Our era would struggle if you just took our era and put it right in here. I mean, you're telling me Brian Ivey at Costa growing up there with Fenoy and all those guys playing today's game? Jeez, come on. I think they would just crush it, but they didn't play that game because that game wasn't what we played.
It's interesting, and I had actually a question I wanted to pose to you guys. I did mention a second ago about different kinds of hitters, right? Because the guys who are power hitters that I consider to be, like, where Coley and I were much more whips. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We really and again, I do agree with Marv. Coley, your arm swing is kind of in this strange category, but even mine was a good arm swing, and I could deliver. Whip. And there was one of the best compliments I ever got, to be honest, is we played in the America's Cup down in Argentina, and it was great because they announced everybody on the team, and the announcers were Argentinian, and so they had this and I'm not trying to be racist when I say this, but like Carl Henkel, right, for Carl Henkel, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then they go through it, and then it was like a Duncan, a Blackman, because there's always a vowel before the we were on the sidelines kind of like not laughing at them, but more like this was just really funny, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then finally they got to Jose Gandara, and it was like it was beautiful. So it became a running joke for us. And again, we're not mocking them. I'm saying, like, it was just amazing. Yeah. Anyway, so I was definitely on the bench. I was very young when I went on that trip. Carl was ahead of me. I forget who else. Maybe Nick Becker, et cetera. I was like, they were like, let's bring Duncan along to get him some experience. Right. Okay. And I came in to play for a little bit because, we're not playing for the Olympics, for God's sakes. Anyway, I put away a ball or two and this and that and the other. And the story, as I remember, is that Jim McLaughlin went out with the Argentinian coach that night, and he said, I like the Blackman kid. I like him. And it was like, I do not know where he's going to hit. He goes up, and I do not know. And then the irony of this is my senior year, So I'm just giving you just my own relevance. So CK, you're junior, right, guys? And Sully and Bear, I apologize for not knowing exactly what years you guys
You're
are.
fine.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
They were there that year because I knocked him out of the tournament.
Whatever.
Okay.
Anyway,
There you
keep
go.
going.
My
Keep
long
going,
machine,
Duncan.
yeah. So they
And
were
I
on the
watched
team
that match, and that's actually something I wanted to talk about.
because you beat us the next night.
That's correct, because you guys went 5, Coley, and that's part of the reason why we beat you guys. You guys were tired, physically and mentally.
And Kenny Lynch hit a ball out when it was 15-all to us to go 16-15.
Okay, you have a much better memory
they
than
capped
I
it
do.
at 17. They capped it at 17. If you remember,
amazing.
first 4 games. Sorry.
So my point though was that here was a really strange thing that occurred, and a lot of people don't know this, and I'm not saying this to disparage anyone because I don't know who made this mistake. Okay, but we played SC. I actually had a really bad match. I remember this. I played poorly. I wasn't moving my feet, and I wasn't. And it was early in the season, and my dad, who CK knows, came up to me after. He was like, "That wasn't your best match, but it's a 1 in the W column. Kind of like just take the win, right?" So the funny thing was that, and Coley, you may remember this. You guys all may remember this when we played in the smaller gym, not in the big gym, but the small gym. That during the men's season, we obviously used the men's locker room, and then the opposing team, in this case USC, would use the women's locker room, and then that would flop during the women's season. Okay, and greatly to Canyon's credit, and I think Bob Hillman played really, really well, and Goss was on fire, and all that other stuff. That we handily beat USC because they had just lost Ivy, Becker, and Greenbaum. So they they basically lost their whole squad. So they were in a rebuilding year. They were not very good that year. No disrespect to USC. Anyway, what was wild is that, Coley, we had spent our summers, and Jimmy Mack had been our coach on, the Pan Am games and stuff like that. And so we were in, scouting sessions all the time with him. And crazy thing happens is that we beat them I believe we beat them in 3. It was a pretty quick match.
Yeah.
And somebody on the team, it may have been Jim, I don't know, but said, "We're leaving now. Like, we're not even going to shower. We're not going to do anything." So they were very polite, and shook our hands after the match. They weren't jerks about it, but then they were like, "No, we're getting out of here." They may have even driven back to LA. I don't know. But somebody left the recruiting sheet in the women's locker room. And it was kind of more like somebody, and I'm not going to mention, I don't really know who it was, but I remember it was actually one of our middle blockers, was kind of like, "I think SC left." Like they like kind of like, and again, they were cordial at the end of the match. I mean, Jim's a solid dude. He would never allow them to just walk off the court. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then went in there and had the scouting sheet for Stanford. And then said person proceeded to read the entire scouting sheet. And you know what? Jimmy Mack knows his business. He really does. It was like, this guy, he's an outside in hitter. If there's a wide set, he's going to go wrist away. If it's an inside set, he's going to go crossbody line. He really likes to go high flat and all of that. And then it finished with me, and it said, "Duncan hits everything from everywhere. Put up a good block. Good luck." And I was like, what? But you know who I attribute that to is Al Skates, 100%. Because I went to his camps when I was a kid, and all the different guys from UCLA that taught me about body work. It was always about getting your hips in the right place, which is within Fred Sturm is the one who taught me really how to pass, right? I mean, really how to pass. And there is a detail to that I would like to share because kids out there would like to learn it, is about dropping your head, raising your shoulder. This is not passing with your hands. This is passing traditionally. Yep. And what you can do is you can actually alter how much your vision sees. And so you are actually able to see your arms and the ball at the same time.
Peripheral.
So all that time I spent at Skates camp, because I just, goodness gracious, Don Denninger taught me how to swing block. But then it was all about like, okay, all we're going to do is hit line. So every single set you had to hit line. You had to hit line, even a terrible, like dying quail. You had to come in and find a way to get above it to hit line because everybody's going to chase you inside, right? And then,
Yep.
all we're going to do is hit cross court. All we're going to do is hit cross court. All we're going to do is hit high seam. And what you did is you had that motor memory to, no matter what the set was, you could kind of go in and then assess it and go, oh, I'm going to blast off the block, or I'm going to like rip a hard angle, or I'm going to like, and so
Did you train? I'm sorry to interrupt, Duncan, because
Yeah.
this is intriguing to me. Did you train that after you learned that at the camp? Did you continue to always go and practice, and even when you got to Stanford, and say, okay, I'm going to hit angle, 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 angle. I'm going to hit line, 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 line. Or do you just go up and compete and try to put the ball away where it's not? Or do you practice that? Continued to practice that in after you learned it?
I was predominantly a middle blocker throughout high school. And
there you go.
So when I got to Stanford, I just want to know how to pass. And I literally just leaned on Scott Fortune's ear the whole goddamn time. I mean, literally, my freshman year. And then at that point, things had kind of escalated a little bit. I did luck out, though. I'll give you this one, is that when my freshman year, and I think even my sophomore year, I was predominantly a right side hitter. So I was hitting combinations and fives and all that stuff, And then I spent a summer, it may have been with you when we did the Pan Ams, and I went to the left, and all of a sudden I got way better on the left side. Like I became like a proper hitter on the left side. And then I realized I could kind of hit anywhere, right? And when I came back, the coaches and I addressed it. So to your question though, Coley, it's a really good one. I don't remember us doing those drills. So there's a good chance that the answer is no.
So again, go back to my statement earlier.
Yeah.
You'd be doing that today in today's game, and at your height, growing up in where you grew up in Los Angeles, you would have been an outside hitter practicing how to pass and hit at a younger age. And like, basketball, like my kids, they're like, oh, why do Steph Curry make all those? Because he actually practices that every single day. And so to go back to your point with you being a volleyball player and an outside hitter is you learn how to hit all those at the camp, at Al Skate's camp. Imagine if you just kept doing that all the time, how much better you would have been, right? And so that's why I was just curious if you did do it because you were pretty good. Yeah, you were pretty good. And so if you didn't do it, how much better you would have been. And just, it's interesting, just the times have changed, right? Like,
I would, and to answer your question, and I think this would go to the coaching, is that when I did those drills, I was pretty young, and I think it was a lot about how it was trying to break people out of patterns, out of it was kind of like just, certain hitters are like really, really, really good cross-court hitters. And that's great. And that's like, it's incredibly effective, by the way. It's very safe. But you kind of, you need to be diverse without being just mush. You know what I mean? You need to be really, really good at all of them. And so it's an interesting question, Coley. I really actually appreciate what you're saying. And it was more along the lines of, like, when I got to Stanford, it was more like, we really want to work on your line hitting on the right. Do you know what I mean? Because they were like, oh, you're really good, because I grew up on the beach, and so there's a lot of crossbody stuff, and grew up playing with your good friend Matty O, and so like the whole, and Andy Fishburne is one of my mentors, and he talk about a guy with a wrist snap, holy moly. And so the thing was, like, line was actually, in my opinion, the harder thing to hit, because it also required far more control. And there was a big one too. No, I'm not going to tell that story. But like when I served, my big thing was to have rhythm, and then when I tossed the ball in a similar capacity, just nobody knew where I was going to hit it. I mean, my coach may have told me where to hit it. And so I really worked on the line serve, because if you could bury a jump serve, the jump serves today are in a different caliber. It's a different category.
They are. Yeah. They definitely are.
I do have a question I want to pose for you guys. So like back in the day, I had one of the best jump serves in the country, and I think I led
one of the
aces.
only ones. Let's preface that too. By the very few did it. Hilly's was pretty good. Is that what you said, Sully?
Yeah, Hilliard and Duncan were the two that were pretty much bringing it back there at the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And no, I'll give you this one, CK, and I'm not sure if you remember this, but I wore the Mizuno trainers. Remember those? The Mizuno shoes that we wore.
Wear them quite often. Yep.
Yeah. And this is the bummer because I have these pictures of us playing in Cuba together. And you're wearing the same shoes. But we played at Northridge, and I went back to serve, and I did my thing. And one of the things I absolutely adore about Cal State Northridge is you guys, all the different sports were so supportive of each other. I mean, never represented better than on The Price is Right, but but Coley, like there were a bunch of really big guys in the stands, and I think they were on the football team because you were on the football team, and then also I think some baseball players. At least this is the way you told me the story. Anyway, I go back to serve, and I'm kind of in my headspace, and this is my senior year, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable, and I go up and some guy in the stands, I won't say exactly what he said. He was like, "Nice shoes, you know this, right?" Because the shoes were they're literally pearl white. Sully and Bear, if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Mizuno red whites?
No, they're blue striped, but they're like white, and they have gumshoe soles. They're horrible for your knees, like really bad for your knees. But there are really great volleyball shoes because you can just move like a gazelle. And they really help a guy like Coley and I so we can just move even faster. Anyway, so some dudes in the stand start screaming, "Nice shoes, you jerk!" With a different term at the end. And I looked over and I served an ace, right? It might have been an overpass. I don't know. I go back to serve and they're like, this, and then I think the second serve was an overpass, and I go back for the third serve, and Coley, you lean to the crowd and you said, "Shut the fuck up, man! This guy's leading the nation in aces. Stop pissing him off!" And then I served it out. I totally served it out. I mean, you in a weird way, you actually did your job.
Psychology.
You know what I mean? But it's one of my favorite moments.
That's awesome.
Right here, Duncan. You always got to be ready somehow, some way.
It's okay. We won, so I'm going to live with that. But my point is that it was one of those moments where you're like, oh, these guys were so loyal to you. And it's one of my favorite memories because, and it's not about the aces, it's more like you're giving me a hard time for a pair of shoes that I have because I played on the U.S. national volleyball team. That's a little bit of a strange heckle. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't think you guys get,
They don't. They're from the San Fernando Valley back in the 90s. No one knew what those Mizuno shoes were unless you played volleyball. Those weren't really a big thing down there.
Right.
People were wearing Adidas and a few other things back in the day. Unbelievable.
That's funny.
Are you remembering this? I haven't not.
Oh, no. I do remember. There's a lot of things. It's funny because I'll get with Matty Lou a lot because, we see him and Jamie and the kids, and I start telling stories and they just can't believe it. Like they're just, "You still remember all of that?" Like, I'm like, "Yes, I do. So
Steel trap is what Coley has.
I was an outside hitter, and I thought hitting on the left was a little easier than hitting on the right. And part of it was because of vision, right? And you were talking about, attacking the ball line or whatever. And I think a good outside hitter, they have to recognize what's going on in the play before they evaluate where they're going to hit. I don't think it's a great idea. Like, no matter what, I'm going to hit line this time or whatever. I think maybe you would agree with that. Yeah.
First of all, it's a great question. And are you wearing a Stanford hat right now?
Yeah.
He's such a
props, man. I should be wearing Long Beach right now. It's really thank you for that.
The boy.
No, you shouldn't. You should be wearing Northridge. Come on. If you're going to do anything, you got to keep me at least equal.
I'm representing Thailand right now, right here. Okay, and that's a segue to our next podcast. So, Bear, that's a really good question. And I think what's a bummer is these pictures that I was actually one of the things I wanted to show, and you guys can add this later, is that I actually have a photograph in front of me right now, and it's me passing a ball with Brian Ivey, who's about to come in and hit a quick, okay? And putting aside our friendship, history, etc., what I was taught was to be technically sound. I was really taught from a passing standpoint and a hitting standpoint. And what you do is you don't trap yourself. I mean, trap yourself physically and also mentally. So what you're always doing is trying to, this kind of goes into the whole passing thing with the eyes. What you're trying to do is maximize the situation so that you can then be adaptable. Because, and I do this now, and again, I don't want to segue into film, but I'll let you guys know, like when I train people to go out and work on film sets and stuff like that, it's all about having your gear set up. You have a system. You do this whole thing. It's the same method. It's the same mentality. And to be honest, something that I mentioned to Coley, but like I knew that Fred Sturm had written his dissertation at UCLA about Coach Wooden, and to hear that Marv had done the same thing, I was a little like, what? I mean, because Coach Wooden, John Wooden is obviously quite famous, and if you guys know, my dad played for Coach Wooden. My dad, Peter Blackman, played for John Wooden.
Wow.
Lou Alcindor.
Awesome.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Lived with my grandparents his freshman year. So like UCLA basketball is like it. You know, in a weird way, I think Al was really bummed that Parker and I didn't go to UCLA. But honestly, no harm, no foul. And I love Al, by the way. Big props to Al and UCLA. So UCLA and Wooden are like this huge part. But the philosophies that are behind that are, it's about being consistent. I don't think you have to be humble. I don't. But my favorite non-humble player that I ever played against is Matt Unger. I love Matt Unger to death. I played with him on the beach on Team Fletch. I played against him, against Pally, against Northridge. He drove me bonkers, but at the same time, he was really good. I mean, he's actually a really good hitter. People don't give him the credit due. To my point, though, is that he could back it up. It wasn't my style, you know. And I'd say this right to Matt's face. And I miss Matt, as a matter of fact. But my point to you is it's a different style. And I was kind of raised in a more the John Wooden ethos.
Yeah.
And again, that's not supposed to be a passive insult of Matt Unger, who I, again, really do respect. I mean, really respect. But if I was talking trash through the net, at the end of the game, my dad would actually have a talking to me. It just wasn't my style. And Cole, you even saw it when we play on Team Fletch and stuff. You just side out, and you put bomb balls, and everyone else can turn around and give everybody a hug. I would let Matt talk trash through the net. Like, go for it, dude. Like my friend Bill Bergstrom, who's a dear friend of mine. He loves to talk trash. Yeah. And so, but that's partly a mental game. And to go back to the Northridge story I mentioned earlier, it was a little like, no, don't piss him off. Because all it's going to do is feed my desire to beat you guys, because I'm not going to break. And that was what I was taught. And Fred Stern was a great guy about that, because he was just like, even socially, maybe I didn't get along so well with Fred socially, but I have nothing but reverence for that guy too. Do you know what I mean? It's just interesting, because I think there are different styles, because I think that something Coley, and actually all four of us have something in common, and particularly because of Brent Hilliard, I think Long Beach kind of broke out of this, and you guys won the national championship, which is huge, and then Knipe has done such a phenomenal job. Love Mr. Al Knipe, but Stanford was underdog. Okay, people might go, oh, you're a bunch of smart people. Yeah, but not on the volleyball court. We're a bunch of idiots, right? Just like the rest of us. And at CK, you guys at Northridge, like people like Northridge, you know what I mean? I'm saying compared to like PEP, USC, obviously UCLA, even Santa Barbara, right? You know what I mean? And the rest are just kind of, I don't mean throwaways, because hell, they won national championships. But my point to it is that I don't think that we had that respect. I mean, our university's volleyball teams had that respect. And I was really proud when we were looking at these two young pups, Matt Fairbringer and Mike Lambert, who, they want to do decently, right?
Yeah, they're okay.
They were okay.
So there was a conversation, and this was right during my senior year, and I said, bring them both here to Stanford together. Do it together. And we brought them to the Fido House. I'm not going to claim we gave them beers, because they were definitely underaged. But my point is that we showed them kind of like they were going to
Stanford. I'm sure the fake IDs were probably far greater than what the DMV even issued. So I'm not really worried about it.
Scott Fortune wasn't doling those out anymore. I was the last one to get that. But to my point is, we just want to show them the social nature of Stanford to kind of go like, hey, this isn't just a bunch of brains, and then you're also gonna like maybe win a national championship. We're like, no, dude, we have fun up here. Like we're actually relaxed and we have a good time. Oh, and by the way, you have an early test tomorrow. But the point is, they came up that really good time, and they were like,
"Yep,
it's awesome. The farm, that's what you guys call it, right? It's amazing, and one of the reasons I'm doning this cap is because of you're on the podcast, but I've gotten to do a lot of summer camps up there.
Oh, cool.
With John Costi and Don Shaw, and I've spent some time up on that campus a week or two at a time, and it is a great atmosphere.
Maples Pavilion,
it's during the summer, so kids aren't in school or whatever, but just the vibe up there is unbelievable. It's a great campus. I love that place.
Sully, you said something.
Everything about it. I mean, I've had some great fun nights at the Fight Out House. Are they even there anymore? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Say that, Sully.
Yeah, Maples Pavilion, bounciest gym I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, you can really jump in
Duncan,
there.
Yeah. Did you go to a summer camp there while in high school? Probably your junior year. So I was there, and that's the first time I saw anybody with a whip like you had. Never seen anything like it. I said, that is the most natural. And when you said you can teach it, I'm like, dude, you should have taught me that, because I thought it was the most unbelievable whip I've ever seen. I was the kid, and you're not going to remember this because it was so long ago, that rolled his ankle so bad that you actually came over and said, dude, that's gnarly, and you walked away. I remember you because I was like, dude, that's the guy with the whip, right? But I mean, my ankle was unbelievable. It was a softball size ankle, right? So, but yeah, that's the first time. So we never like met. We've never really had a conversation, but I remember you back in high school, and I was a year older, that you were at that Stanford camp, and you came over and just kind of said what you had to say, but your whip was unbelievable. And I would tell when people would come home, I'm like, yeah, you have no idea, this kid. And I thought you were from Northern California just because you were from Stanford, and I was from Central California. So later on, I knew, you were down from Southern California, but yeah, your arm swing was amazing. It was fun to watch in college and going on to the national team. So yeah, it's just a little remnants of us back in the day, but that's the first time our paths crossed.
Okay, first of all, Sully, I can hear you way better than before, which is
okay,
good
good.
news. Yeah, no, really. But I'm not trying to interrupt. Thank you. This is a gorgeous compliment. I did play that year. I'm sorry, I went to that camp that year. This is the only time I went. I coached at the Stanford camp, but there's the one time I played there because I was all about UCLA, whatever. Yep. I am really sorry that I was that callous. It was fine. And I remember Duncan leaning his head out of the dorms, because that's where we stayed. Hey guys, are we gonna go out? Let's go out. And all of a sudden we sneak our heads in the hallway, and Rocky Sorelli, Cammy Sorelli is there just waiting for us. Like, you guys dumbasses, like, we can hear you, like we're in the thing too. But
I'm surprised they didn't help you get out. No,
the guy leading the way. Yeah, and so Rocky's just looking at us like,
we were definitely dumbasses back then.
Just putting that out there. But we're high school kids. What do we know? But yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Duncan. What you said, real quick, let me say this, Duncan. You just said a minute ago about Matty-O and how you grew up, obviously with your father, and then, modeling John Wooden. And I've said this a bunch of times about my kids in different podcasts. You grow, you get older, you see things. Like, you were a high school kid who was one of the top players in the country at a Stanford camp when you're a junior in high school. I mean, come on. Not many juniors are going to go over and like hug Sully, even today's world, and like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, you're just being a kid, like, oh, that sucks, brother. I'm out. Yeah, I'm gonna go make the top team or whatever. Like, so, and recognizing it now, like you said, and just in general, like just growing as human beings. I think, we were high school kids. We all did some dumb things, right? Like some dumb things back in the day. Things that I'm actually not really that proud of. Most of the things I'm proud of, but there are a few things I'm not. But
back then.
But go back to your question about go up on the farm. You said it like, I mean, I've had some unbelievable nights up there. I've had some unbelievable nights at the Fight Out House, which you said is no longer there, with all of those guys. And I think that's probably lost for a lot of people at Stanford. You think you go to Stanford, I don't know how Harvard is, but you go to Stanford and it's a bunch of brains, and it's like you said, it's a lot more than that. And it's still like that. It's not just that, it's so much more. And what a great university and a great opportunity you got to play there. I mean,
I'll tell you a story, and you're going to laugh your ass off about this, Coley, but I'm going to give an omit on this one. And it's not you, okay? We played you guys, in all sincerity, this is a long time ago, but you were definitely there. And let's just say that in the fraternity house, the culprit of this story shall be left out, okay? And by the way, this is not anything illegal. No. This is not some sort of
decades ago. Call him out.
I know, but still, just leave it out.
If you're talking about headbutts, my head still hurts from that night. Okay, go ahead.
Karen's there.
So one of the things I loved about volleyball is that, I mean, I just mentioned Matty O, who I adore, right? Okay, played with and against, but also battled with. And I didn't have any of those kind of like really, really hardcore rivalries. You know, you kind of like, everybody hated the Bruins because they kept winning, and there's that. But come on, Mike Seeley's one of my closest old friends. And so, to my point though, is that you guys had come to Stanford. We played. Whoever won, I don't really care. The story's not about that. And then you guys came because we weren't playing the next day, and we went big, and we all went out and we did a whole bunch of drinking. So one of the amazing gentlemen who I have played with as well on your team decided to relieve himself on the hallway floor, like late night, okay, and it was pretty ugly. And so then we all had roles in the house, like, and we'd rotate, and it's like, okay, you know, John's gonna clean the bathrooms, and then Steve's gonna do this, and then Duncan's in the kitchen, or whatever it was, because it was a shared effort. That's what a fraternity is about. So anyway, my buddy John, again, a name I'm not mentioning, John like came to my door and was like, knock, 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 because this is long before any cell phones, and he's like, I'm not cleaning that up. I'm sorry, I'm not cleaning that up. Like, this is your buddy. He's the one who delivered the goods, whatever, you know, pros that the gentleman decided. He goes, and he's like, I'm sorry, man.
I'm not
that
doing
is
it.
not my responsibility. So I spent about a half an hour scrubbing. It was carpet, not helpful, and it was not a fun one. I got it cleaned, but then the good part about it was that then when I saw said person who delivered the goods a little while like later, I was like, dude, you owe me. Like, you owe me big time, you know, like, and I'm really struggling not to say a name, but he really was like, I am so sorry. I'm so embarrassed. I'm
He's
like,
a sweetheart too.
You do know who I'm talking about, don't you?
Of course I do. I was there.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'll just say that same night, or the next morning, again, Division I sports are far different today than they were then. So the fact that we get back to the hotel at like 6 a.m. and the bus was leaving at like 6:10, like Geeter and I that night was fun. And the fact that you're referencing it and some of the things we did, and it became, again, this is again why we do this podcast, Duncan, is like those stories I haven't talked about or thought about in a while. And you guys, a lot of you, we can say some of the names that Jimmy, like, are still some of my best friends. And you went to Stanford, I went to Northridge, and we're playing volleyball at Stanford. And we're with you guys after the match in your fraternity house. Some doing some things we are not proud of, some doing some things we are proud of. And we're still talking about it, 30 years later. It's incredible. It's really incredible. And it's why I'm super grateful for this sport.
Oh, you guys, and I got a shout out that I want a story, and I know I'm like Coley, and I gotta be honest, watching your guys' podcast, I'm shocked how good of a listener Coley is. I really am.
He's been trying. He's been trying. Did
you hear that, Michelle? Did you hear that, Michelle? Duncan just said I'm a good listener.
You're a good listener on the podcast. I can't claim I'm obviously running like this. I could do this for 3 hours. Anyway, so I got a great one for you guys, okay? And this is but it's kind of old school, okay? And it's easy to look this up, but okay, so years ago, 1988, when I graduated from Loyola, Volleyball magazine, which was kind of the seminal like source, right?
Mhm.
Okay, I actually have it sitting here somewhere. It's right next
Shut
to me.
it.
But so they used to do a thing called the Fab 50,
Yep.
right?
Coley says he was number 5, by the way.
I'd have to look to see who was ahead of him.
Oh, you do not have it.
Is that Karch on the cover?
Jeff
Shut
Williams
it.
on this USA one, but this
Look
is
at how young
yes,
Williams
this is.
Who is that? That's Dodd. Is that Dodd?
No, it is. This is about the 4-man. That's Stavertlik, actually.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
good for Bob. Jeez,
Long
Louise.
These
Talk
are.
about
This is right
expected
after
boy.
I found these in. I think they're right after the my ankle broke in college for football. So there's articles in these. I'm going through stuff as you know.
Duncan's got to get the
Okay, so
your senior year.
here's my silly story, and you know what? This one I'll just say the names because they're all friends of mine. Is that when Parker graduated in '86,
Mhm.
he was like in the middle. He was like 25th or something like that, which is awesome. My brother is a phenomenal setter. I mean, absolutely amazing, great
Agreed.
team leader, etc. Incredible. And also talk about a defender, he would be on my short list. Below Fig, but close. Anyway, but that year, the 1 and 2 were pissed off about it to no end. Like really, really angry. Who was 1, who was 2, and all this other stuff.
Which is,
You guys
was
think
thinking,
it
was
was
it, you're talking 86? Was it Kent?
No, I think we're
Steffes
talking
and
about
Judd
Duncan's year,
Bushler?
right?
No, no, no.
88.
Duncan.
Your year, Duncan, 88.
Hold on. My story is about my year, but Bear's on it. So
Was
it
it Kent
Trevor
Steffes and
Sherman.
Judd Bushler?
No, it was Trevor Sherman.
Oh, Trevor Sherman, okay.
And then
Yep.
Kent, right? And,
Okay.
And
So
apparently,
Trevor was ahead of Kent.
no, is it? Yes. I'm
Okay.
sorry, Bear. I didn't mean to speak over you. And Kent, I mean, Kent went on to be like one of the greatest beach volleyball players of all time, and
Right.
and he and I consider him to be a really actually good friend. But in the moment at 18, he was apparently pretty pissed off about this. Okay, and Parker and Kent grew up together as much as there's Pally and Loyola and all this other stuff, but he was pretty heated about it. And obviously, come on, we don't have to even discuss the success of Kent Steffes. So 2 years later, which happens to be, of coincidence, the last year that Volleyball Monthly numbered
We just
the
talked
Fab
about
50.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was
And
90. Yep.
You sure about that? Cole, I
Yeah,
could
because
be wrong.
they ranked. No, it was. I'm sure it was because they. I'm pretty sure Michelle wasn't ranked, or maybe she was. It was either 90 or 91. They stopped doing the actual numbers. They just said the top Fab 50
Alphabetical.
instead of the top.
I'm gonna wave that.
It's
complete
90 or
error
91.
away. I'm wrong. I apologize. I for some reason thought the next year they stopped numbering it. Okay. Anyway,
Either way,
so
tell the story because it sounds great.
Yeah.
So I was labeled. I was named the #1 recruit coming out of and going to Stanford, and and so we had just beaten Pally. We played Pally twice, much to Mattio's chagrin. And I don't say that to rub it in, but come on, give me a little bit. And we played them in the Forum, which was this weird match that we played and all this other stuff. And anyway, so I'm named the #1 recruit. And Parker happened to be in town. It may have been, I don't know, maybe he just finished finals, whatever. And I was all like, oh my gosh, so cool in the magazine. And I was like, was growing, right? I was graduating from Loyola High School with a straight A grade point average. I was dating a girlfriend, the gal I've been, really interested in for years. And like everything was kind of clicking. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Parker and Coley's played with Parker. So you learn something about my brother is like, he just rolled into the room and just shut me down, like completely shut me down, like get it together, and he went like full on, like don't let this go to your head.
Right.
This says you could be good. It doesn't say you are good. Now, a year later, we unfortunately lost to said mentions, Matt Sonicson and Trevor Sherman and a bunch of Whitaker and all these other guys, and they outplayed us in the finals. But I was then named Freshman of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when that was in, it was on the plaque. I think it was a third team All-American or something like that. And Parker walked in and said, you know what, a year ago, I didn't handle that very well, but guess what? You earned this. You earned this. You were the best freshman this year, hands down. Nobody questions it. This is what you earned. I'm sorry I was such a jerk about this a year ago. And I looked at my brother like, I'm now officially afraid of you. But I'm being a bit sarcastic because obviously I love my brother.
Parky,
but see, you've dealt with Parker when he gets intense. It's
intense.
Different generation, though. We talk about it all the time. But I think you're missing a story, and I think it's important because, we're getting close to time, so we'll have to come back and do the intro in a minute. But about this story about you being the number one player in the country, but you're missing your Junior Olympics your senior year. So I think it's important to talk about that because if I recall, you guys are the number one team in the country. You were the number one player in the country. You had a bunch of guys on your team that were in the Fab 50.
And I was going for this. I know what he's doing here. And this is it's your show, so I'm going to let you go for it.
And a bunch of goofs from the Valley came out and actually beat you guys. We were called skivvies, SoCal skivvies. And that was also, we joking around. We talked about this the other day. Like those matches for all of us needed to happen at younger ages to learn we're not that good. And hey, maybe we need to work harder. So they were the best team there, but they didn't win it. And they didn't win it because I just think you guys were overconfident.
You know what I say with 100, I'll say in this moment as a 55-year-old man, okay, retrospectively, you just nailed it on the head. There's no question, because it was Seeley and Moose and myself, and I think Suarez was on that team, and Corey.
He was.
We had the people that should win that tournament, right? I mean, we had all the ingredients, but the truth of the matter was our ego got the better of us. I don't think it's necessarily specifically why you guys beat us, but I can tell you this much. When you guys beat us, that was indicative of the chink in the armor. I don't mean to take anything away from your victory, because it's no different than when we played in the regionals and we were on a roll. Like Stanford was literally powerhousing through all the different teams. And then we waited to watch. I was really worried about the finals of the regionals because both you guys and Long Beach, Pepperdine and Stanford were the four, in my opinion, that could really win that year. Okay. And we're talking like, dude, in all sincerity, I was more worried of Long Beach, no disrespect, but
no, you should have.
Well, I'm not taking that away from you guys. So then we waited, we watched the match, it went late, and then I finally tapped and I was like, we need to go. Because you guys went into the fifth game and I'm like, this is over. Like, we're going to win tomorrow. Like, I knew it because we were on a roll and you guys were going to be tired. And the same thing happened. And I have nothing but reverence for not only Marv, but Sorensen and Dane and Alon Grimberg and the team that beat us in the finals that year, because we went 5 with IPFW. And I remember we were headed up 2 games and I went to the bench and I'm like, I know Arnie Ball, I knew Loy Ball, and I'm like, this is not over. Like, we need to, if we beat these guys in 3, we have a chance. And we didn't. We went 5. Now, we won in 5. And my senior year, we did not lose one 5-game match. Every time we went to 5, we won because we were consistent. And quick score, consistency wins. But to my point, it's about fatigue. And I didn't sleep that night. And when we played in the finals, and again, I am not trying to take 1 ounce away from their victory because they deserved it. They outplayed us. I had a horrible match. And I was the captain. I was our primary outside hitter. There's a whole bunch of reasons why. And so it kind of goes to, CK, what you were talking about is that it's not as simple. There's an energy that happens, and it's not just the match, right? It's actually what happens prior to the match and what goes into the match. It's what goes back to what I mentioned about proper preparation. Like you prepare and then you adapt in the moment. So
great though, Dunk. That's what makes, and that's why we all love it is that exact reason. Like That's why people watch the Super Bowl and the playoffs. No matter how great teams are, someone wins and someone loses. And there's times where you're expecting this unbelievable match, and you go and you're like the two best in the world, and like UFC fight, boxing, I go down and it's like, oh, and it's like, it's over. It's like, wait, you prepared, and you want to talk to the loser almost more than the winner. Like, how did you allow that to happen? Right? Like, you trained for a year, you did all this stuff, because that's sports. Energy, momentum, what happened the week before, what was prepared. I watched something recently. I can't believe I'm forgetting one of the best pitchers ever, Maddox. He made a pitch in like the 9th inning of a game that didn't matter to a batter in his mind, knowing that he was going to pitch to him later somewhere. And like a year later or something in the playoffs, same batter, and he got him. And he remembered, and he prepared for it. So like that's just, you talk about preparation. Doesn't mean he doesn't make that pitch and the guy hits it out either. And that's what's so amazing about sports, is you got to deliver when you really have to deliver. And that's what makes it cool, you know? And like, you learned all that, right? Like hey, we all lose, no one wins, there's only one team that wins. Like, you didn't win that year, so what, right? I didn't either. But you learned from it, helped you at Stanford. You know, you got to 2 natties. You didn't win one, but you got to 2 natties, and those moments just always, you know, make you better and your teammates better. And they're also memories, right? Even though you lose, it's still that you were there and you competed, right?
I got a few championships on Team Fletch that were quite legendary, and including with you. I have a funny question to ask you guys, and I know we're tight on time, so I don't want to turn this into some like greater, but it's more about sports in general, if you guys don't mind, there is a minor movie tangent to this, but it's about sports. Okay, so when I grew up, I always grabbed the View section of the paper because it had the comics, which is indicative of what I do now in computer graphics. Okay, but Parker, my brother, and my dad, Pete, who CK knows, they would fight for the sports section, right? Every morning, just go at it. My dad's a statistician. My dad's an interesting guy. I haven't even told you the really gnarly John Wooden story about my dad.
That's the next pod, because I want to hear that.
Yeah.
No,
that
I'm with you.
And your movie career, all of those wrapped into one for sure.
I'll go there. Okay, so okay, where now you interrupt me. I forgot my thought.
The comics.
No, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Sports page.
The paper, the comics. You Parker and your dad would always look for the sports page.
This is it. Okay, this is it. And this is a vague segue, but I don't mean it to be a segue. So I was filming a movie in Detroit, Detroit as we call it, and a guy who I worked with is a Navy SEAL who's like not my dad's age, but close. And we ended up sitting. I don't want to give too many details because I know we're running out of time. Anyway, this guy is about as diametrically different as I am. I respect him and his service, etc. And we're sitting at the bar at the hotel, and there's just a ton of sports on. Football, this, that, and the other. And he and I are just having a beer. I mean, that's it. This is not anything elaborate, right? And I leaned over to him. His name is Harry Humphreys, okay? He's literally original SEAL Team 6. And I said, Harry, I got to be honest with you, man. I like hanging out with my friends at the bar, watching the sports, but I could care less about the actual sports. And I said, do you have a theory on this? And he goes, I've actually studied this. And I was like, oh, please, pray tell. And he gave me this really interesting kind of breakdown about how historically, predominantly us as men, but like it's this cultural scenario where like I'm going to go to your village and literally steal your woman and steal your crops, and that became non-viable. And I'm not going political, please, in our democracy. And then now this is our way of kind of outlet. I'm going to cheer for the Raiders. Like Kevin Martin, okay, loves the Cowboys. Like why? I don't know. I mean, he never lived in Texas, you know, but he is, and go, buddy, go for it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, he can keep. They're not going to win, but okay, go on.
That's not where I was going.
Sorry, Kmart, love you.
His point was that there was a cultural adjustment that occurred, because to me it's a bit like, Coley, you give me a call and you're like, hey, let's go grab a beer and watch this because you wanted to watch whatever. And I'd be like, sure, because I want to hang out with Coley. I don't give a crap about what's on TV. I
Mm-hmm.
don't. I actually care more about tennis now than anything else. And so the thing is, it's like, but it was an interesting remark by this guy who's a seasoned Navy SEAL, that he was like, no, this is a cultural adjustment. And I had never looked at it that way. You know what I'm saying? And I mean,
I would agree with that in some ways. It's definitely for the masses. It makes you get away from your life and all of that stuff. The difference is I'm like your dad and Parker, and I would have been right with them fighting for the newspaper. I love sports, and I love almost everyone. I mean, I don't know if there's one I haven't really followed or pay attention or even respected is probably the good word of it. I love them. I love competing. I love watching. I love watching people compete, whether it's track and field, it's women's field hockey, it's softball, or it's lacrosse. I didn't mention baseball, volleyball, basketball, and football. I mean, I'll watch those any day, but I think there's a lot of people that love them, but I also do think there's a lot of people that are just, it's part of what we do, right? As a culture here in this country, and sports has become that. And it's a way to look through different lenses, and it's also a way to blend a lot of things together that really, I think, is a bigger microcosm of our world and our country, is being able to work together with people and playing against other people where you want to kill them, but you also want to respect them and understand that. So I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Duncan, have you always been that way?
But I wouldn't ask you to a bar though, Duncan, because I want to watch the game personally. So when I'm the different person, like I don't want to go to a bar. Like when we went, guys, Sully and Bear, we recently, there was stuff on, I wasn't really paying attention, but if there was a game on, a volleyball game, a football game that I wanted to watch, I wouldn't go watch it somewhere. I'd watch it at my house or somewhere where I can pay attention, talk about the game, and listen to the commentators. Cause that's how I am with sports.
Have you always been that way, Duncan? Or were you like Coley? Were you like Coley when you were younger and you watched the game and studied the game? Or if you were with a buddy, you would be more into the buddy? Or did you do that when you're older?
Okay, so Coley and I are alike in the sense that we're both incredibly social, right? And
Coley's
I think
pretty
we
shy.
fight, and this is why I complimented Coley earlier, and I appreciate the shout out to Mooney about how good of a listener he has been on this podcast, because he and I could fill a room with words.
Yes, we could.
But and this is one of the best things about playing on Team Fletch, by the way, because we have a friend who could probably put us both to shame, Mr. Chris McGee.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question, Sully, though, is that I've always been an extrovert. I studied volleyball. Sorry, fruit fly. I studied volleyball really intensely, especially when I was on the national team. And dedicated it in a weird way. It was kind of an interesting relief because like I said, like graduating from Stanford wasn't that hard, but dude, it's really challenging. I mean, people just, it's not Stanford for not Stanford. It's hard. It's a very difficult university. Anyway, so when I was done with that, when I got my degree, I just was like 100% into this, and I started really working out harder and all these other things. And so I studied volleyball, including I had a notebook, because this is before smartphones and all that other crap. And God, I've got a great story about Groundhog Day for you guys. That I would take a lot of notes in a notebook, and then I would go to like Fred and go, hey, these are the things I want to work on. And he'd be like, yes, yes, no, yes, you're fine here. These are the things you need to focus on. So did I study that way? For sure. Because the truth of the matter is I was trying to win a gold medal in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't get to do that. I didn't get to participate in the Olympics, which is, you know, it is an honest to God sad part. Just like Coley and I both had, you guys won national championships. Kudos. I give you nothing but love. Okay. And I got to play with your teammates, and I consider like Winnie is one of my closest friends, and I haven't talked to Hilly in a while, but my reason for saying this is that to study it is, to me, is, I will give you this one. Okay, I'll give you guys one. This is a nugget, and this could be maybe our last conversation, because I know it's getting late. I'm happy to go for another hour, for God's sakes, but here's the thing. When I was in high school, I was kind of captain, star. I was kind of the guy. And then at Stanford, behind Parker, obviously Bones was ahead of me, but by the time I graduated, I was the captain. I was first team All-American, and yes, we almost won the national championship. But when I got on the national team, I pretty quickly realized that, like, dude, no, you're a role player, man. You are not. You're a good player. And the peak of my career was the bronze medal that we won in '94, and I was playing the best volleyball of my life, okay? But I was behind Scott Fortune and Bob Stavrlik, so I was like, I wasn't starting unless somebody got injured, which quite obviously nobody wanted. So you kind of like, I think it's about understanding your role. And I will say, as a healthy segue to our potentially next podcast, it is one of the best things that ever happened to me. I'm sorry I didn't win a national championship. I'm sorry I didn't play in the Olympics. I would have loved to have played in the Olympics, but Jesus Christ, the guys who came in after me were just like, I'm sorry, I can't compete with them. But when it came to like now working in what I do, it taught me, especially, and this is something I hope you guys all respect, like, because I'm 6'4". When you work on a film set, 6'4" is you're a giant, okay? And so you have to be really conscientious of body space and things like that. Not to intimidate, but more to be, and then I'm like, oh, I went to Stanford and I work at Industrial Light and Magic, and then all of a sudden, so one of the great things that happened for me was that I peaked as a bench player. It's one of the most, it's humbling. It's not humiliating, it's humbling. And so for me, I'm just like, my job was just to make them better, because we're going to win a medal and let's do it. And so all I did was just pass nails and side out and dig balls and bomb jump serves at Ivan Nygaard and Sorensen and the lot of them, because my sense of personal glory just, it wasn't that it faded. I was just more like, that it wasn't, my ego adjusted.
Yeah.
If you guys will. And so, and I do find,
kudos to you for being able to do that, Dunk, because a lot of people can't. And it's part of the journey for most, not all. I mean, not everyone's LeBron that plays from the beginning to the end as the man, but
I mean, he's
it's
a
tough.
fluke.
It's a tough.
We'll give him a fluke.
Yeah,
And
it's a tough thing. And
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I think it's also not, you weren't doing this, but I think it's one of the things that's really dangerous is I was given a patch years ago when, and this gets into film stuff, but it was the best teach the rest. This guy was a helicopter pilot, was an amazing helicopter pilot. And we became buddies, and it was on a movie, it doesn't matter. But the point is, he handed that to me, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, there's like one of the most amazing keepsakes. Because I will say, and I'm giving kudos to Ben Boripo Memba, who you guys, I hope, all know.
Oh, yeah.
And he's the one,
yes, we need to have Ben on here soon.
Yeah.
he would be a spectacular person to have on the show. But he
Agreed.
was the one who recommended I reach out, because Coley and I obviously go back. And I will say this, and this is something I want to actually, because this is very volleyball centric. I looked at volleyball as it kind of theoretically as a stepping stone. I love playing it. I didn't think I was ever going to make money with it. So I was kind of like, I'm doing this for lack of a better term. I think glory is a dangerous word, but Olympic. I was aspiring to be in the Olympics, right? Okay. And Coley, I know you've said this on other shows, so don't judge me for that.
That's what my goal was too.
So,
I think
but to my point is that when I left the national team, I was just utterly defeated. I'm not saying that Fred did that to me. I'm saying that then I wasn't going to be in the Olympics because I wasn't that good on the beach. I played 1 year on the beach, trained with Karch and Kent, which was really interesting. Another story for maybe the next podcast. But I realized that I was like, I'm not going to be in the Olympics. And that had been a bit an adult dream. It's not lifelong. I don't like the word lifelong. We're all basically masses of idiots until we're about 12. So really it should be then on. And so the thing was that it was like, what do I do? And it required a massive mental readjustment. And then I got into what I do now. Okay. And I've been doing that for the last 25 years. Okay. So the point of it is that, like, how do you handle that adjustment? And my remark about coaching is a lot of, including Ben, by the way, and I think all of you guys have coached. I I'm going to acknowledge, but I beg of you to let me finish 3 sentences. Okay. At the time, I thought down upon that. I was like, I'm doing volleyball for now, for the Olympics, and then I'm going to move on and do something. I wanted to be an architect, to be honest. And my appreciation for how important coaching is totally different now. I mean, really, really different. I'm not talking about John Wooden. John Wooden's, he's over here, okay? And no disrespect to John, I'm just saying. But it was interesting because it took me, I don't know, almost a decade. And I was already in my other career, but it really hit home. And I was like, just to really appreciate the value, of people's life experiences, and then they can teach the kids, but it's also so fruitful for us, right? So I'm only saying to those coaches out there that I ever was like, hey, coach, I apologize. Because not that I ever verbalized it that way, because I was like, dude, you got to work, do your thing. I just kind of was like, no, I'm just going to keep playing on Team Fletch and let's win and have fun, and I'm going to go off and make movies. So
boom by yay, right? Boom by yay.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just acknowledging this, and this is the comment I made to Ben the other night. This is about, 2 weeks ago when I first reached out to you. And he's like, you need to get on Coley's podcast. Because I'm not saying this to, if anything, it's a self-admittance of what I consider to be to not be the best attitude towards that life course. Because I think it's a spectacular thing, and to be a coach is so fulfilling and so amazing and so wonderful for kids or younger. I mean, look, Jeff Alzina is still coaching on the Pro Beach Tour. Am I wrong?
No, he's actually, I don't know if he's doing that, but he's coaching at Santa Clara. He's the beach coach at Santa Clara. So that's where he's at right now.
He's the encyclopedia of these details.
He is.
But my point is that, like, I acknowledged to myself that I kind of gotten a little lofty in my own headspace. Does that make sense? And I'm not proud of that, but I'm acknowledging it. So hopefully that's okay.
Listen, of course it is. And listen, Duncan, this is a great way to, probably let everyone know that we're going to do this again. And I'll tell you why. We've talked a lot about mental health on this, and not as much as we need to. And this is a volleyball podcast, loosely affiliated, but a lot about sports and stories. And what you just talked about is going to be a perfect segue for our next episode with you, is life after the ball stops bouncing. And how do you change your life from being Duncan Blackman, the volleyball player, Duncan Blackman, the goal to be an Olympian, to I just didn't make the team and got cut. What am I going to do? How do I transition? I always wanted to do something. I hate volleyball. I'm not saying you do, but I don't like it. I don't respect that. Then you come back as you grow and you learn and you start your career. So you being able to pivot with what you've done, and I can't wait to share it with everyone. You're one of, we've known each other forever. I consider you one of my bestest, good of friends, is to tell everyone in this world what you've been doing over the last, 25, 30 years since you stopped playing volleyball. I'm sure a few of the people in listening to us has maybe seen 1 or 2 of the movies you've worked on, I'm sure. But I think it would be such a great podcast to talk just that, your career, how you got through it, how you learned to coach and teach internally within your work of being in the movies compared to being a volleyball player, and with the coaches that you worked with. So we'd love to have you back. We'd love to talk about that. We'd love to talk about your journey the day after the volleyball did stop bouncing.
Yeah, when CK let us know you were coming on, I looked up what you were doing. Now I just went downstairs and I went to my son, who is in your wheelhouse. You have no idea how much he's in your wheelhouse. And I'm like, hey, Google this guy's name, Duncan Blackman. He's like, oh my God, Dad, do you see the movies? I mean, he knew every one that you worked on and just the history of it. That's just, he's 21 years old. And he was just like, you're going to talk to him? That is insane. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing about your career and how you combined your discipline that you talked about earlier, and your enthusiasm and your natural abilities. Did that go into your profession? So I'm looking forward to it. I really appreciate you coming on, Duncan. I thought it was a big deal. So Duncan Blackman, set the pipe. is our guest.
Part one.
We really appreciate you coming on. We want to have you come back sooner rather than later, after you move or whatever. And we have another hour, if not two, with you.
Somebody give me a 2-sentence answer as to set the pipe.
Of why?
Absolutely.
Bear, can you tell me, like, I never got the understanding of this. I love it, but I don't know.
So
I think Sully came up with it. This is his podcast, so I don't want to jump on you, Sully. But I think he's been out of volleyball for so long, he just thought it was relevant. I'm not sure.
Our age. So my whole premise of this was when I went to junior tournaments and I would see Randy Stoklos, I would see Jeff Stork, and I would ask the players, 15, 16, who's that? Who's that? They had no idea. When I went to private lessons within the last 5 years doing private lessons, so when Misty May, well, who's that? I'm like, oh my gosh, they don't know our legends at all. Ooh. They don't know our history, right? So I love setting. So I was probably that guy would hit the big back in the day, but I would just tell Fig low pipe, and that's what I did. But that was my favorite swing to do. So I was just like, okay, it's old school, and I just wanted to encapsulate all of our legends and people that we know that, in 15 years when YouTube is still around, your kids, potentially grandkids, right, can come back and see what dad or mom did back in the day, right? So that was the premise of all this, is just capturing the legends. And then, it got Bear on. Bear was my first interview. Then we got Coley on, and then I had some health issues. And so we started back up in January, and Coley came on, and I told Bear, I'm like, we got to have Coley on this thing. I mean, he's got to be one of our hosts. It's been a lot of fun. Couldn't have been more perfect timing, I think, in his life that was going on. And then with his network and then Bear's network and our network, I mean, it's just been great. Everybody's had, given equal amounts into this podcast, but that's where Set the Pipe came from, the name. And it kind of fits because, pipe's not really a thing really in the women's game. It kind of is, but it's more of a bic. But back in the day, it was Set the Pipe, right?
Set the Pipe, baby. And hit subscribe. Duncan Blackman, baby, everyone. Welcome to the Dunkster. He's got fun and games. If you don't like that, he'll bust out the whips and chains. He'll hammer the ball hard right in your head, and then you'll try to scoop it, but you'll be dead. Welcome to the Dunkster. Me and Dunk have had some fun times together, to say the least.
Tell me that was Havana when we came up with that.
It was Havana, Cuba. 91 Pan Am Games. Bronze medal match against Argentina, who we beat earlier in the tournament. They beat us in 5, and we didn't get a medal. Tough one, but it was fun to be down in Havana, Cuba.
We got to play in front of Fidel. That was interesting.
We did. We did. Packed house too.
And my parents got to watch that match. By the way, that was really cool.
That was awesome.
Yeah. We got more stories.
Well, cool.
You guys, I know we got to go. Listen, you guys, this has been nothing but a joy.
Very cool.
I'm very isolated out here, and I never shut up. So I apologize for being so excessively talkative.
You were amazing.
You were awesome.